What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name's Kyle. Tonight, Wednesday evening, we're just going to hang out for the next half an hour or so, go over any start-sit questions you guys may have in the chat room, and we'll go over some of the player news and actives, all that good stuff today. And yeah, it's week 13. We're here to get ourselves ready for the fantasy playoffs. So come hang out with us for the next little bit here. And if you guys got a question, please fire it up in the chat room. Subscribe if you are new. We're almost to that 600 mark, so we'd love to hit that soon here. But we're basically just looking at the fantasyfellowship.com. I do have links in the description. I'm going to click on week 13. I do have all of my start-sit charts ready to roll for you guys. I just uploaded a week 13 fantasy preview as well if you guys want to watch that on your own time. But let's kind of just get into it, and we'll click on, I got the waiver wire report stuff there. I have link to practice reports, and then I do have fantasy points allowed by position. So good evening to Aiden. Hope you're doing well, man. Let me know what kind of questions you need for this week. Let's see. We got Rabe in the lineup tonight. Just finished studying for chem, and your streams are on. Let's go. We're hanging out. Let's see what we can brew up for week 13. Jason says, can you rank Cooper, McLaurin, Pittman, Kieran, and Gus half PPR for both? Whew. Let's see here. The receivers, I mean, Cooper, McLaurin, and Pittman, we want those guys in our lineups for sure. So I don't know if this is a start-sit question. If we're looking at the fantasy points allowed, let's look at that first. You have Amari Cooper going up against the Houston Texans, but he's got Deshaun Watson back. We just saw Tua Tagovailoa light up the Texans secondary here he got benched. He didn't get benched, but basically he didn't even have to play the fourth quarter. So I do like Amari Cooper this week. As far as Terry McLaurin, you have the New York Giants here who are pretty stingy against opponent wide receivers. And then Michael Pittman going up against the Dallas Cowboys. So kind of all tough matchups. I do want to show you guys, I created something here. It's on the Twitter machine. And I was looking at the last 5 weeks to see if anybody, any defenses stuck out. So looking at this, we have Amari Cooper against the Houston Texans. So the Texans are ranking number 2 here. So they do not allow wide receiver points. You have Terry McLaurin going up against the Giants. They've been pretty soft lately, so that's a good matchup there. And then you have Michael Pittman going up against the Cowboys. So I think I want to get McLaurin in there as the number 1 ranked receiver. He's the clear lead guy there. I like what's going on in a game that they're going to have to throw the ball. So I think that's the guy that I trust the most right now. I'm going to put Amari Cooper number 2. And then I'm going to put Michael Pittman Jr. number 3, just because we don't love the Colts offense. He finally came through with a touchdown last weekend, but it still feels a little flimsy. So I'm going to say McLaurin, Cooper, Pittman. And then for Kieran and Gus, half PPR. Gus Edwards offers no value in full PPR or half PPR. He's going to be lucky to get 1 catch. And I think the matchup, let me show you the matchup for running backs this week. If you look at the matchups here, the Seahawks, of course, they just got gashed by Josh Jacobs, but other than they've been pretty bad. They're allowing over 30 PPR points to the running back. I know the Rams offense is not playing well, but I do like that we've seen Kieran Williams' carries go up each week the last 3 weeks. He's involved in the passing game, and he's kind of looked like their best back. So between running backs, I'm going to say Kieran Williams over Gus. And Gus Edwards and the Ravens, they have a really tough matchup. They're going to get Denver. That's a good defense here, so I hope that helps. Thoughts on Rachaad White when Fournette comes back? Did Fournette get a practice in today? They played Monday night, so I don't know if they report. So we'll find out more on Leonard Fournette tomorrow if he's a limited or a DNP. Obviously, it'd be nice to be a DNP if you have Rachaad White, but I do think that even when Fournette comes back, and say it is this weekend, against the Saints, it's a tougher matchup on paper against the Saints. And what's his workload going to be? I don't know if they're going to just throw him out there. It's pretty clear that they want Rachaad White to be the starter. So I'm feeling that at least for week 13, Rachaad White is still the back to own. I don't want to start Leonard Fournette in his first game back. We don't know what his workload is going to be. So I think rest of season, I would view Rachaad White kind of like a Tony Pollard, a guy that's 8 to 10 points in my PPR RB2 spot. I think that's where I'd rank him. In Fournette, at this point, Leonard Fournette, we don't even know what we got with him. So he's riding the bench until further notice. Rachaad White is like a Tony Pollard type ceiling player. Good evening to Harris. Hope you're doing well. Aiden says, PPR, Watson, Pittman, Wilson, White, Carter, Zay. So the one guy that sticks out here and that we're not going to use is DeAndre Carter. I like Carter, but we can't trust it. He's kind of the third or fourth target option in that offense. I think he's going to be interesting against the Raiders this weekend. But as far as the must start player in this one, you got to go with Christian Watson. Going up against the Bears, they're one of the worst teams. They just put a couple players on IR. Their defense is trash. You want to start Christian Watson in this game. It seems like Aaron Rodgers is going to play, and even if Jordan Love is the guy, like we saw good things happen with Jordan Love. So I like Watson a lot. Number two, I think you want to get Garrett Wilson in there. Look at the receiver rankings here. The Vikings allow the second most points to the position. So with Mike White, Garrett Wilson's in our lineup. And then we get into like a tough one between Pittman and Rachaad White. Now, Pittman going up against the Cowboys, I expect the Colts to have to throw the ball, so I think he's got a pretty safe floor. I'll say this. If no Leonard Fournette, I'm going to rank Rachaad White third. Otherwise, we're going to go Watson, Wilson, Pittman, White. And then what do we do with Zay Jones? Going up against the Detroit Lions, he's kind of the hot name right now. I'll tell you what. I will play Zay Jones over – I'll play Zay Jones over Pittman. So your top three receivers are Watson, Wilson, and Zay Jones. We'll go with that. Lawrence or Watson. I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. Now, I know that Watson's back. It's his first game back, but he hasn't played football in like 2 years, guys. So there might be some rust, and we're seeing here that the Texans are pretty damn good against opponent quarterbacks. They are technically a run funnel defense where teams just want to run the ball against them. It's not usually a competitive game, so it allows them to keep running the football. So that's going to be, Nick Chubb. That points to that. But I do think Watson can be efficient. But man, you got to take advantage of this Detroit Lions matchup for Trevor Lawrence. They're allowing over the last 5 games, the Lions are allowing 27 points per game to the quarterback position. So it's Lawrence. Sports Dog. In his 8-team half-point PPR, he's got Josh Allen, and I can stack him with Gabe Davis, but I'm just not sure I have 2 wide receivers, 2 flex to fill, players available, Olave, Ayuk, Campbell, Zay Jones, and Watson. Help. All right, we have 2 receivers and 2 flexes to fill. The 2 receivers that I like the most are going to be Watson, and then I think you got to play Olave. Olave's been pretty good all year. And then when it comes down to the 2 flexes, you got to go with Zay Jones, and then I think the real decision is between Gabe Davis and Brandon Ayuk. With Ayuk going up against the Dolphins, let's look and see how many points they're allowing to the wide receivers. The Miami Dolphins, they're pretty stout. They're going to get San Francisco here. Let me see here. I think you got to go with Gabe Davis over Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk's been really good lately, but man, especially at this time of the year, like Gabe Davis, I know he's going to either get 3 or 4 or 5 points as a bad game, but you want to hit those 20. So I think we're going to leave Ayuk and Campbell out. Davis or Debo, non-PPR. Davis or Debo, non-PPR. I think in this case, I'm going to go with Debo because we were just talking about Ayuk versus Gabe Davis. In your case, though, I'm going to go with Debo because he does get that rushing upside. It's a non-PPR. We'll go Debo. Rachaad White or Palmer. If no Leonard Fournette, we'll go with Rachaad White. But for today, I'm going to say Josh Palmer. The Raiders, not a great defense right now. You can easily score points on the Raiders. Their defense does allow fantasy points, and I like Palmer. I don't think Mike Williams is going to be back anytime soon. So for today, I'll say Palmer. But if no Leonard Fournette, we're going to go with Rachaad White. Daniel, is Warren worth the spot if Najee is out over Debo, McLaurin, or Zay Jones? Whew. I don't think you're going to start Jaylen Warren over any of those guys. Those guys are all pretty good wide receiver plays this week. But I did notice something on the practice report, and I'll show you here. We have Najee Harris not practicing, and then you do have Jaylen Warren, who missed last week with a hamstring. He's a full practice today. So I think Jaylen Warren's going to be the guy. Maybe he's not the start this week, and especially in your case. You got Debo, McLaurin, and Zay Jones. It's hard to get that. It's hard to get him in the lineup, I think. So I'm going to stick with those 3 receivers. But Jaylen Warren definitely needs to be picked up, guys, if he's available. I also have 3 RBs I could put in my 2 flex: Rachaad White, Jamal Williams, or are receivers better fit for flex in this case? So it's a half-point PPR. I think you got to get Watson and Olave and Zay Jones. Like those are the 3 guys that stick out the most. But we'll go with this. If no Leonard, I guess we're not going to know if Leonard Fournette's going to play till Monday night. So that does make it complicated now, doesn't it? And then Jamal Williams against the Jacksonville Jags. I might go, I'll tell you what, I think I'm okay with sitting Gabe Davis and Ayuk for Jamal Williams. We'll put Jamal Williams there as the second flex. I trust Jamal Williams. I still don't know if I trust Rachaad White. So your top options, your top 4 options to me would be Olave, Watson, Zay Jones, and then I'll play Jamal Williams there. Michael Carter. Oh yeah, I don't think Michael Carter is going to play this week. He's got a little bit of an ankle sprain. He did not practice today, so I think we can probably plan to be without Michael Carter. Pick 2 to start: Gibson, Monty, and Rachaad White. We're going to go Gibson and Rachaad White. I like Montgomery. Not if Justin Fields doesn't play, I suppose. Gibson going up against the Giants, interesting. I'll say this: Rachaad White's the best option here. If Justin Fields is in, I'll go with David Montgomery. We'll go that. I know Brian Robinson kind of scared us off last week from Gibson. So I'll say White, Monty, Gibson. 1 flex, 1 RB2. Yep. Good evening to Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Kieran or Jamal, PPR? So do you want 2 or 3 catches from your running back, or do you want a potential touchdown? Because I do think Jamal Williams has a good chance at a touchdown, like he does every week. Let me see here. The Jags. On the season, the Jags have allowed 8 rushing touchdowns, so that's a pretty good matchup here. As of lately, the Jags tightening up. So with that being said, the matchup is really good for Kyren Williams. I think I'm okay with going with Kyren Williams. I think he can be valuable and get you 10 points. He did have the 9 points the other day here, but man, I think we got to go with Jamal Williams. He's been scoring touchdowns at a really good clip. It's against the Jags, who we don't really trust quite yet. I'm gonna go Jamal. I think Ken Walker is a bad matchup this week. Kenneth Walker going up against the LA Rams. No, it's a good matchup. This is the last 5 games here. The Rams are essentially allowing 24.5 points per game to the running back, and because their offense is so bad and their like Aaron Donald's not going to the Rams are just garbage. So teams are able to run the ball on them. I would expect Kenneth Walker to do what he's been doing. Kirk or Garoppolo? I don't love Kirk's matchup this week. It's a very tough one against the Jets. The Jets, one of the better teams right now. They rank in the top 10 against points allowed, only 14 points per game. Whereas Jimmy Garoppolo, I know it's still somewhat of a tough matchup here. Let me see if I can find him. Going against the Dolphins, I think you want to lean into Jimmy Garoppolo. We love his weapons right now. What's Henderson role looking like in Kieran or Dylan? I'm not sure if Henderson's going to have a role yet. I think ETN's going to play. He was able to practice limited today, so I think the pecking order would be ETN, Hasty, and then Henderson. If anything, Henderson maybe comes in and gets 3 to 5 carries. I don't think he's going to be a guy that we're going to need for fantasy unless ETN gets hurt. So he's a deep stash. And then between Kieran and Dylan, I like both matchups this week. I think Kieran's the safer play, but man, Dylan looked really good on Sunday Night Football against the Eagles. And it is the Bears. The Bears defense not inspiring a lot of confidence right now. So it's a pretty good matchup for both guys, but I'm gonna lean slightly with Kieran Williams. He's starting to take over that backfield. PPR, Gabe, Juju, Burks, White. Rachaad White. I'm looking at Burks and Rachaad White. I think you want to play a rookie. Juju kind of got eased back into the offense last week. I don't know if I trust him. Whereas Gabe Davis, again, he's got this wild range of outcomes, and the Patriots pretty decent against wide receivers. They've only allowed two touchdowns to the wide receivers over the last 4 games here. So it's not a great matchup for the Bills receivers. But right now, Treylon Burks playing really good football. I know it's the Eagles. That's a tough matchup. So I think right now we're going to say Rachaad White's your best play. Deontay or Lazard. I think this week you got to go with Deontay. Lazard's been kind of losing steam going, with Christian Watson and the Steelers. Steelers going against Atlanta. Like Atlanta's defense, man, like let's take advantage of that. So I'll go Deontay. He's yet to score a touchdown, so I think he could be finding the end zone soon. In a first down and 4-point, yes, PPR league. Kieran, Warren, Dubes, Knight. I'm going to go Kieran. We'll go Kieran Williams here. I don't know who any is. Drop Deontay for Pickens. Oh, yeah. Pickens is the dude. If you have that option, man, Pickens is the guy to own right now. He's the best looking receiver on their team. Let me see here. We don't have any practice reports on the Saints. I'll say this. If Marshawn Lattimore's not going to play, I'll go with Mike Evans. So today we'll go David Montgomery, but if no Marshawn Lattimore, if he doesn't practice over the next few days, we'll go Mike Evans. Do you think Dobbins could have any impact late this season? I do. I don't think we're ever going to feel good about it, though, because as long as Gus Edwards and Kenyon Drake are healthy, it's going to be a committee. And the Ravens have playoff aspirations. They're probably going to take it easy with Dobbins. I do think he's worth holding on to. If you have the room to stash him, please do so. ETN, Jeff, Rashad, or Pierce. We're going to go with ETN. Assuming ETN plays, he's getting a cream puff matchup against the Lions. The fact that he was cleared to go back in on Sunday against the Ravens and just didn't, I respect that decision to be safe with him. So I will say ETN. If you don't like ETN, I'll go with Rashad White. I have the option of using Philly, D, or Seattle. I think Seattle's going to roll the Rams. Any opinion? I'm going to go with Seattle Seahawks as well. I like Philadelphia, but man, the Packers offense, they have not been great all year, and they did pretty good against the Eagles. You can run the ball on Philadelphia. So Derrick Henry, it's a good matchup for him. I think you're correct with thinking Seattle. Watson or Carr this week. I've noticed Derek Carr has been playing pretty good football the last 4 games. He's gotten between 17 and 20 points, 4 straight games. I'm going to go with Derek Carr. Again, I think the Texans matchup, the running backs score points against the Texans, not QB. So I think Carr's your guy against it should be a high scoring game. Chargers, Raiders. Yeah, great news for Walker. Kirk or Brady, will go Brady. Again, I don't like the Jets matchup for the Vikings offense. Nick Westbrook, Akina. Yeah, we're going to go with Kieran Williams still. Mo Diesel, what's going on? Start one flex, half PPR. Must win to make the playoffs. No pressure. Okay, Mike Evans or Sutton. Lawrence or Cousins? We're going to go with Trevor Lawrence for sure. That one's the layup. You got to take advantage of that matchup. Again, we've called that out a couple times tonight. The Lions are allowing the most points per game to the quarterback over the last 5 games. They allow 27 points per game over the last 5 weeks here, just in a ton of touchdowns. So Lawrence, yes. Now, Evans and Sutton. Sutton's really been the only guy that's been worth a damn in Denver's offense. You can maybe argue Latavius, but Sutton, and keep in mind here, so the Ravens, they are pretty stingy against slot receivers, but you saw last weekend Zay Jones had a career game on the outside, and that's where Sutton plays. So I think Sutton is probably the safer play here. That way we don't have to worry about will Marshawn Lattimore play, will he not play? I'm just going to say take Sutton. You see the Ravens here allowing a lot of fantasy points to the position, to the quarterbacks, as well as the receivers. Receivers are even worse. So we'll go with We'll go with Cortland Sutton and Trevor Lawrence. Browns or Commanders? I think you got to go with the Browns, man. The Texans are just not doing it. And again, one of my favorite things to look at in terms of which defense should I start is the spread tab here. You have the Broncos, the Colts, the Rams. Where's Houston on this list? The Texans. Do I have them on here? Texans are always projected to score about 19, and the Giants are right there with them. But I'm gonna trust the Browns to do some damage against Texans. Who do you like better, rest of season, Jamal? I'm gonna go with Tony Pollard. It's a product of the offense, and he just looks so good. I know he had 18 touches and didn't get many points last weekend, but if he's going to get 15 plus touches per game the rest of the year, it's going to be Pollard. I don't trust the Lions. And Jamal, as good as he's been, man, he's getting a lot. He could wear down the season stretch. I think Tony Pollard's fresh. Garoppolo, Mike White, Kenny Pickett. I'm going to go Mike White, man. Mike White against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are allowing a lot of points to the position at QB. They just let Mac Jones go nuts against them on Thursday night. So I think Mike White's the guy. Roll with the hot hand. We like the weapons. Njoku or Schultz. Let's see here. Njoku DNP. That's more so being cautious, I think. I think you probably got to go with Dalton Schultz, though. Let me look at the matchups. The Dallas Cowboys. So it's a tough matchup against the Colts. They've only allowed 1 touchdown all year, whereas Houston a little more generous. They've only allowed, I guess this is the last 5 this is the last 5 games. So each team has allowed a touchdown. The Browns have allowed, or the Texans, let me see here. The Texans have allowed 3 touchdowns to tight ends over the last 5 weeks. So I think it's an Njoku game. As long as he's healthy and good to go, I'll go with Njoku. He is not the best QB in football, but he's the best QB on the Jets. Would you trade Pierce for Pollard? Yes. Let's go get Tony Pollard. Dameon Pierce, it's been a good ride. I think he's got one more good game in him this week, but after that, the schedule tightens up. Christian, what's going on? Gibson, Swift, Singletary, Bam Knight, or Rachaad White? This one's Rachaad White all day. Singletary's got a tough matchup tomorrow night. Swift's not getting a lot of touches. Bam Knight, who knows what's going to happen if Michael Carter plays or if James Robinson gets active. And Gibson's got to deal with Brian Robinson. So I think it's Rachaad White, Mike White, or Taylor Heineke. I will go with Mike White. I like Mike White. Njoku or Pat Freiermuth. Pat's been pretty damn good, guys. The Falcons are pretty tight against tight end. I'm going to lean Njoku. I'm excited to get players in against the Texans, so I'm going to go Njoku here, but that's close. Either way, though, Daniel, you have a pretty good matchup. I'm going to lean towards – I don't know. It's Monday night, so they don't put out practice reports until tomorrow, so we'll get a good idea. If he's DNP tomorrow, that means he's not on track to play. And even if Fournette plays, I don't think you can start him in fantasy football. Like, it's clearly Rachaad White's been the guy the last handful of games, so I wouldn't be too nervous about Rachaad White. He's got a role as a rusher and a runner, so – or a pass catcher. So I think Rachaad White is still good as an RB2 play this week, and we're not going to play Leonard Fournette. Dang. Do you feel like playing – so it's risk versus safety. Do you want the safety with Jalen Waddle, or do you want to go for the touchdown streak here of Christian Watson? He's got a great matchup against the Chicago Bears. Tough matchup for Jalen Waddle, but the 49ers over the last few games have been allowing wide receiver points. I think logically, I'm going to lean with Jalen Waddle. He's the stud. That he's a top 10 receiver. I don't think you can logically. I don't think we can sit a top 10. He's like wide receiver 6. I don't think it makes sense to sit him. So I'll lean Waddle. Although I do like the matchup for Watson. How's Lamb matchup? Not great. The Colts. On the year, I think they're the number 1 team against wide receivers. The last 5 games, though, here, they rank 7th. So it's a tougher matchup on paper. You're not going to bench CeeDee Lamb, continue to use him. He's starting to come into his own, but it is a tougher matchup on paper. Mike White or Taylor Heineke. We're going with Mike White. We'll go Mike White. I think Taylor Heineke's got a decent matchup against the Giants, but the numbers right now say Minnesota Vikings can't cover. So we'll go with Mike White. Garrett Wilson is you start over Waddle. Nah, man, we can't. I do think Garrett Wilson needs to be in your lineups if you can make it happen, but I'm not going to sit Jalen Waddle for it. Waddle's just been too good to us all year. I kind of have a rule, man, like especially once you get towards the fantasy playoffs, I like to dance with who brought me there. And Jalen Waddle has definitely earned his spot in our lineups because just look at some of the games that he's gotten us. So you got to stick with Waddle. Heineke, Jimmy G, or Kenny P. I kind of like Kenny P, especially if no Najee. I like Pickett a little bit here. The Giants matchup for Heineke, I don't love it. Jimmy Garoppolo, though, against the Dolphins. I'll say Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he's got the best weapon, so we'll go Jimmy G. Ron, what's going on, my man? Am I crazy for starting Trevor Lawrence over Lamar? No, you are not. You're playing the numbers, man. Trevor Lawrence. Basically, he just said, hey, like I'm pretty good at NFL quarterbacking, guys. He got a lot of crap for what happened last year, but we kind of give him a free pass from the coaching situation. But the dude's playing like a fringe QB1. Trevor Lawrence is playing good football right now. The Jags have a good situation going to Detroit. And Denver Broncos, man, that's a tough team. That's a tough team for Lamar. Lamar's not playing good football. Really, you take away his first 3 weeks of the NFL, Lamar's not a QB1, I don't think. So I think Trevor Lawrence is the right call. Deshaun Watson or Hurts, not even a question. It's Jalen Hurts, not even close. I like Deshaun Watson, but guys, we got to keep in mind he hasn't played football in 2 years. It's his first game with his new team. Boos are gonna rain down on him. It's his first game with a new team, and the matchup says Texans are pretty good against quarterbacks. So as weird as that sounds, I would go Jalen Hurts. Jamal Pacheco, Jeff Wilson Jr. I'm gonna stick with Jamal Williams. Touchdowns. He's a secure guy right now. I think Jamal Williams is your guy. Evan Ingram or Noah Fant. Harris. Oh man, is Tyler Conklin available? Ingram's got a great matchup against Detroit. Noah Fant, a good matchup against the Rams. I'm gonna lean with Noah Fant. I'll lean with Noah Fant. The Rams defense not playing good football right now, so we'll go Noah Fant. Oh yeah, Higgins. I mean, for this week especially, if you look at my start sit charts, I ranked Higgins ahead of Jamar Chase. I think again, a player in his first game back, we can't expect him to return to his blistering pace before he got hurt. So I think Higgins is the hot hand. He's had 2 massive games the last 2 weeks, and Jamar Chase having his first game back. I think maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's just got a little rust to knock off. Roll with the hot hand. T. Higgins needs to stay in lineups. Cooper or Mixon? I'll say Joe Mixon. Running. Typically, I want to play a running back, especially a top 5 one like Mixon. I'll go Mixon. And yeah, I appreciate you, man. That's very kind words. I appreciate it, and that's one of my favorite things to do, man. Just hang out with you guys, answering questions, and hopefully we get a couple right, not too many wrong. That's kind of how it goes. I'm not perfect, but every now and then we tell someone to start Zay Jones, and it works out. So we'll see. No Christian. Zay Jones actually, I think in terms of targets, are like really, really close. Zay Jones. So the way they operate, and keep in mind, like Kirk still had 8 targets last week. Like he didn't really have a lot of fantasy points till the final drive, but it's basically matchup dependent. The Ravens are really bad against outside receivers. So Zay Jones was the guy that was open a lot. And who knows, maybe the Zay Jones game last weekend opened things up for Christian Kirk. So no, I still think Christian Kirk's a guy. He's a solid wide receiver too. That one was in the dynasty league. Okay, I got you. Yeah, we'll go with Fant. Also got to start 3 of Rashad White, Etienne, Walker, Olave, Jeff Wilson, Sutton. We're starting Kenneth Walker. Yes, please. I think you got to go with Sutton, and you got to go with if Etienne plays, I'll go Etienne. Walker, Sutton, Etienne. Those are the guys. If you are nervous about Etienne, I guess I will go Olave. I think the Saints are going to have to throw the ball against Tampa Bay. So those are the names I'm looking at. And I like McLaurin every week. I think he's pretty matchup proof. He didn't have a big game last weekend, but dude, Taylor Heineke like overthrew him horribly. He should have had a touchdown last week. It was a wide open touchdown in the red zone. McLaurin could have had a huge game. And going up against the Giants, a tough game where, hey, the Commanders win this game, man. They're moving up the boards in the NFC. So I think Terry McLaurin against the Giants is a pretty good matchup. And let me double check here. Is Adoree Jackson? Adoree, they already ruled him out. So their top cornerback is down. They have a lot of other, like the Giants are banged up at corner. So great matchup for Terry. Is Rashad White reliable rest of year, or should I try and trade for an RB2? I think if you can sell high on Rashad White, I'm totally cool with it. I mean, we still don't really like the Bucs offense. They're not scoring points. They're not a great rushing team. If you can cash in on Rashad White, go get a Tony Pollard. Go get, even like an Antonio Gibson type. I'm willing to take a rock steady RB2. Even Jamal Williams, guys like that. I think if you could, tack on Rashad White plus a receiver and go get your favorite running back or something, something like that. But I think it's worth trying to sell high on Rashad White. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, my man. It seems like McLaurin played better against bad matchups. Well, I think they didn't have to do much against Atlanta. They were up at the beginning of the game. Heineke got his touchdowns in early. He didn't have to throw very much. Again, he missed McLaurin on a wide open red zone touchdown, so it could have been a good day. And looking at this Giant, look at how many players are hurt for the Giants. They have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys not practicing, tons of questionables. Giants are in a tough spot right now. So I think Terry McLaurin, man, he's gonna have a game. Brian Robinson or Ezekiel PPR. Oh, Zeke's been looking good since he returned. I'm gonna go Zeke. We trust it's a product of the Cowboys offense. I think you want to park your fantasy team in the Cowboys. So we'll go with Zeke. In a game where the Cowboys should be able, like, the Colts can't score. They can't hang offensively with the Cowboys. Expect Zeke to get his touches and probably get a goal line touchdown. So we'll go with that. But anyways, guys, we're going on a half an hour here, so I'll get out of here for the evening. If you do have any final questions, please get them in. I'll see if I can answer them for you. But tomorrow night we will go live. Thursday night hangout. We'll go live at 6:30 Central Time, and I think I'm probably going to be. I think I'm. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do a Saturday night show, but for sure Sunday morning. Let's see here. Is Jamal Williams good, even though he doesn't get targets? I'm fine with Jamal Williams. He gets touches. I think the number one stat you care about for running backs, and it almost doesn't even matter if it's. I mean, look at Derrick Henry. He doesn't get a lot of targets either. As long as you're getting 15 to 20 touches, you're a viable running back in fantasy football. Hawkinson, I'm going with Hawkinson. It's a good matchup. Again, the outside corners for the Jets are pretty good, so Hawkinson might get pummeled with targets. And yeah, good night to everybody. I hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, and we'll see you on the live show tomorrow evening. Peace.